Aloha everybody, welcome back to the forecast. I am Kefren. Thank you for joining me on another beautiful Hawaii afternoon here on the Garden Isle. Today I want to be talking all about Mercury and the sign of Gemini, as Mercury itself and Venus have been moving through Gemini for the last couple weeks. The Sun has just entered Gemini, Mars is about to enter Gemini, and so all of this Mercury energy is just kind of blowing up the place. So most of you probably know that Mercury comes from the Greek and Roman legends, mostly the Greek legends, which the Romans then stole. But Mercury was the messenger of the gods. Mercury would run messages and memos back and forth between the gods on Mount Olympus and the people down on Earth. Now, classically, Mercury and Gemini are associated with communication, thinking, the mind, all of that sort of thing. But what a lot of people don't know is that when the ancient peoples talked about these gods and this mythology, a lot of people, take it as metaphor, which it is. It is very good metaphor, and it does metaphorically describe a lot of things about life and spirituality that, we encounter on an everyday basis. So yes, there is a metaphorical purpose behind all of the myths, but what a lot of people don't know is that the people who the myths talk about were once real people, and that once you start learning about, there's so many documentaries out that have come out lately, basically detailing all of this evidence that the human race has had an entire history that has been completely lost to time. We've had an entire civilization that with technologies we don't even yet quite understand. We cannot replicate the kind of architectural design and the ingenuity with which some of these ancient buildings were constructed. We don't have the wherewithal to do it with the same kind of precision of these ancient peoples. And why is that? Why is it that the pyramids are designed with such mathematical precision that you can't fit a coin between the bricks? Why is that? And I believe the reason that this is because of a being named Hermes Trismegistus. And Hermes Trismegistus was Hermes the Thrice Great, was the greatest king, the greatest philosopher, and the greatest healer. And this being, along with a couple others, were said to have come from the sky and delivered to humanity the codes and the sciences by which we could understand the world that we live in. And Hermes gave to humanity what we now know today as the Emerald Tablets. And the Emerald Tablets were a codex of universal creation. And Hermes is also said to have brought the three mystic traditions to humanity, which is alchemy, astrology, and theurgy, or ritual magic. And between these sciences, human beings could understand themselves and understand the universe at large in order to co-create with divine consciousness and bring about really awesome experiences here on the planet Earth. And that was the original design for the planet and humanity and all of that. And so things such as alchemy and astrology and tarot, all of these mystic sciences, they're all descendants of what humanity learned from this being Hermes Trismegistus. Now, between these three sciences of alchemy, astrology, and theurgy, what it was that Hermes was giving to us is a symbolic, metaphorical explanation of the physical laws in our reality. Isaac Newton was the last great alchemist of our time. Isaac Newton had a library of alchemical texts and studies, with he was obsessed. He would spend hours and days just poring over, ancient scrolls. He also happened to have reinterpreted the Emerald Tablets. And it was by studying alchemy and the metaphorical codes that alchemy contained within it that Newton developed his sciences and mathematics of calculus. It's what gave him his fundamental understanding of how matter and energy correlate and respond to one another. And as I've begun learning about astrology, basically that's what I realized. I realized that these signs and these archetypes, they're more than just characteristics. They're more than just behavioral patterns. They are symbolic codes for the greater forces of nature that we are all one with and interacting with on a day-to-day basis. So for example, basically, according to Mercury, everything is a symbol. Everything you look at is a symbol for something else. And if we think of language in all communication and the written language, every sound that we speak, everything that you're hearing right now, all of these different sounds, the different ways I'm moving my lips and my tongue and using air to pass through my vocal cords and creating all of these different sounds, technically it's all symbolic. All of these sounds don't inherently have any meaning to them, but language associates different ideas and principles with the different sounds that are coming out of our mouths. So we all have this agreement that the word agreement means that we are all saying yes to a particular thing, and that the sound of the word agreement, all of those things are associated with the concept, with the thought of agreement. And the same is true for the written language. Every single letter, it's just some scribbling lines. What the lines are shaped as is completely arbitrary. It doesn't matter. We are assigning meaning to these shapes and these sounds, and then we agree that they mean these particular things. That's all language and communication is. And so in the same way, symbols, such as the ones used in astrology, symbols for all of the planets and all of the signs, each one of those things means something much greater than what that little symbol is actually representing itself as. So for example, let's take the planet Mercury. So we have the little sign of Mercury, and incidentally, all of the symbols within astrology are actually alchemical symbols. Alchemy developed a system of symbolic codes and languages in which to express the different fundamental principles of existence. So, for example, the circle represents spirit because it's whole. It's a symbol of wholeness. And also, if you look at nature, everything designs itself in circular spiral patterns. If you look into the Fibonacci sequence and the golden ratio and all of that, it's all within these spiral patterns. So the circle represents spirit and wholeness. The square represents matter. Remember, as I was talking about in Taurus, how the box and the cube represent the element of earth and matter? Well, the square in alchemy represents the forces of matter. And the curved or angled line represents the mind. It represents the forces of thought. And so all of the different symbols in astrology are actually telling you about what the energies they represent. It's much like a language all its own. And so, for example, we take Mercury, and Mercury is a little curved line, a circle, and a cross. And so the curved line representing thought, the circle representing spirit, and the cross, which is another symbol for the square, is matter. And so what Mercury is telling us through this tiny little symbol is that the message of Mercury is mind over spirit over matter. And so basically, by using your mind, you can access your spirit and create matter. And so you see here how just how using symbolism, you can express a lot of different things with one tiny little image. This tiny little image expresses so much when you understand what its symbolic code represents. So extending that even a little bit further, Mercury represents communication. Well, what exactly is communication? I feel that communication is to connect with something. If I'm speaking the same language as someone else other than me, I can connect with them. I can understand what they're saying to me. They can understand what I'm saying to them. And there's a bridge. There's a connection that has taken place between us by which we can share information. And so if you think about it, that's really what it is that your mind and your thoughts are doing. They are creating connections between this thing and that person and this concept and this place and that feeling and these thoughts and these things you don't really understand. So the mind is this computer that's just constantly making infinite connections all at the same time. And if you remember all this stuff I'm talking about with Schrodinger and quantum theory and superposition of atoms and all of that, what you'll understand, what you come to realize, is that the mind is the computer, the matrix, the mathematical codex by which we form all of the energies of potentiality into forms, into physical objects, into people, into experiences, into behaviors, into thoughts and feelings. It's the mind. The mind is the steering wheel to this huge quantum soup that we're all just swimming through every day. So basically, what that all really equates to is that we're living in a virtual reality. All things apparent, in all intensive purposes, we are living in a virtual reality. Everyone you experience on a day-to-day basis, every dog, every cat, every lizard around here, it's all being created by your thought process. And so the appropriate response to take in any situation is full responsibility over everything in your experience. And that can be tricky sometimes, because sometimes people are coming at us in ways we don't want them to be coming at us. We aren't building the bridges properly. We aren't properly connecting and understanding one another. And so there's confusion, there's misunderstanding, there's projection. We're with our mind and in our computers, we're projecting all kinds of things onto people because of this and because of that. But really, it's all in our head. It's all in your head. And if you want different experiences in life, you start thinking different thoughts. You program your computer differently, and it will show you something different on your monitor. And so that's the big message of Mercury. That's the big message. Everything going through Mercury right now, it's all about that. The Sun and Venus and Mercury and Mars, what they're all saying in their own special way is build your bridges properly. Find the connections that you need in order to properly understand and relate to your environment. You are creating bridges that you haven't created before, and therefore you are understanding more about yourself than you once did. Because when you expand beyond your current limitations, when you upgrade the programming on your computer, all of a sudden you're somebody different. The person you knew yourself has changed, because all of a sudden your mind has expanded who you know yourself to be, the way you communicate, the kind of people you want to be associating with. It changes. You grow up in life, and that is what Jupiter in the sign of Gemini is all about, and all of these things conjuncting Jupiter. It's time to get out of our own boxes. It's time to grow up and learn that this world is so abundant. There's so many different things in this world. There's so many experiences. There are so many thoughts to choose from. There are so many people who we can get along with and create really awesome bridges of cooperation and communication. We can make really great things happen when we connect with people and grow as individuals. So that's the big message of Mercury in Gemini. Get out of your box, build some bridges, and start thinking about what it is you're thinking about. Until the next time, mahalo for watching, and aloha.